Hello, we're here today at the Street Epistemology meeting in Salt Lake City. I'm Lisa, and I'm here today with Thomas, and he's going to be my interview partner, and we're going to have a little conversation. So, Thomas, we have been hanging out for the last hour or so, and you have a claim that you'd like to explore?
Sure.
Can you tell me about that?
I feel that religion is not a force for good on the earth.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
I mean that when I add up the benefits that religions across the world claim that their religions give to their adherents, when you add those benefits up and compare them to the detrimental actions of the religions and the things that religions have done that have harmed the world, there is more harm done by religion than there is good.
Okay, so are you saying that religions are detrimental to the world?
Yes.
Okay. What do you mean by religion? Can I get a definition for religions?
Sure. Religion, in this case, religion I would define as an organization, and it doesn't have to be an organization with a business type organization. Just an organization can be one person, two people, or it could be a whole group, such as the Catholic Church, the LDS Church, the various Hindu sects, or Judaism,
so any size of gathering or number of
yes,
people. Okay.
That promote the belief in a given deity of some sort.
The belief in a given deity?
Promote a belief in a given deity, or in a form of what I would consider mythology to be factual.
Are all religions use some form of mythology, do you think?
That I don't know. There have been well over 3,000 gods that have been worshipped on the earth that we know of. And I haven't been able to study every aspect of every single one of those. Many of them we've lost. So we don't know more about those religions than we actually do know about them, because records have been lost, destroyed. Of those that I know about, yes, right. I would answer.
And written history, it's only goes so far back, and all of that.
Yeah. Okay. And that doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean that things that I consider to be factual about history are definitely 100% true. There's a lot of things that are conjecture. It's looking at it and going, well, my best guess about how this happened is X. Whereas a religion would say, regardless of what the evidence says, this is what we say happened in the past. Okay. And this is what will happen in the future, regardless of any other evidence that might exist.
Yeah, I see. When you say religion is not a force for good in the world, and there's detrimental effects of all religions, in what way are there negative effects? Like, how does that affect negatively the members of that religion, or maybe the society around it, or and what types of negative effects are there?
So it varies, I think, by religion, and even within the religion, it can vary by the individual. If you're more of an orthodox believer in your religion, you might be more detrimental to other people, and the religion is actually detrimental to you, and you pass that along. Or you might be less orthodox and more nuanced, in which case how detrimental you are or the religion is lessened. So One way it's detrimental, we'll just take an example, is in a lot of Christian sects, there's this idea that we'll specify one in with the Latter-day Saint Church.
That's the church you have most experience and
That's
knowledge
the church I have
about?
the most experience with. It promotes a culture of purity, where a person would be better off coming home dead than having had any kind of sexual relations with somebody outside of marriage.
In what way is that damaging?
It's damaging to a teenager. Teenagers have...
Is that directed at teenagers generally?
It's directed at teenagers. It's directed at adults. It's directed at everyone in the organization.
Okay.
It's highly taught to teenagers and pushed on teenagers. There's constant meetings about it. When I was a teenager, it feels like once a month or more there was a lesson about it.
Mm-hmm.
I could be mistaken in that, but that's what it feels like. That's what I remember. And what that can do to a person, this didn't happen to me. I've learned this by discussing it with other people. What can happen is if, like, teenagers' hormones are raging, and to tell them that they're better off coming home dead than having touched their boyfriend or girlfriend. Forget having actual sexual intercourse, but touching them. You're better off to have come home dead, or to have fought to the point that you're dead if someone's trying to take advantage of you. And what that does, or does, is create a major amount of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they teach it is, well, it's such an important thing. It's a sin against God, a crime against God, to have this action. And there's only one thing really worse than it, and that's cold-blooded murder. And so you're telling a child who has such an impressionable mind that touching somebody or themselves is almost as bad as murder. It's almost that bad, and the guilt that they can experience through that can damage their way of thinking for the rest of their life, and change the way that they're willing to interact with others.
Right. That sounds reasonable as a psychological damaging thing that can happen to people in that particular religion. Back to the claim of all religions are not good for society or the world. I can't remember your exact wording, but if there was a religion that existed that didn't teach that and had a more healthy version of, without the purity and the toxicity of the shame culture, would that be also damaging?
That's just one aspect of it. There's
an example.
Let's move on from that to a different one, from a different example. So we'll take the act of vicarious redemption, which is what Christianity teaches, that Jesus vicariously redeems people, making them not responsible for their actions.
What about a non-Christian religion? Are those also damaging?
Yes. So let's leave Christianity. So if we go to, let's say, Hinduism, the only aspect of Hinduism that in my studies I've found that isn't the least damaging one is from Jainism. And they are so nonviolent that if they walk out of the house, they're scared to even take a step, because they don't want to step on an ant or a flea or something and accidentally kill it. And that's how nonviolent they are. So, in an extreme on the other end, they're very much trying to be at one with the earth. And it goes so far to the extreme that half of the people that I've read of their stories half of them are scared to leave their house in fear of harming some little bug.
Right. So that's our 10-minute mark. Are you okay to talk for a few more minutes?
Sure.
I've got a couple more questions.
Sure.
If that's okay. Okay. I didn't ask you about your confidence level. How confident are you on a scale of, let's say, 1 to 10? 10 being very confident, I'm absolutely sure that religions are harmful to the world. 0 being, I think they're fantastic for the world. I think it's the best thing ever. Where would you be on that scale?
I may have mixed up what's where, so I'm going to state.
Put it however
my claim.
whatever makes sense to you.
I'm 80% positive that religions are more detrimental to the world than they are good.
So you're giving it 80%.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything you could learn that would make it go up on that scale?
I'm sure there is.
Be more confident?
I'm positive there is. I could not ever say that I know everything about every religion.
Right.
My whole... I spend way too much time studying religions and have for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But even with all that studying, I'll never be able to know enough to be able to say I can 100% say that all religions are detrimental to the world.
Yeah. What do you think you could learn that could bring that number down from 80%? Like maybe religions aren't that bad, and some are good even, or is there anything that could get you to lower your confidence?
I don't know.
Just hypothetically even. And take your time.
I honestly don't know. But what I do know is that if the deity worshipped by that religion does exist, it would know. And it should be able to then show me whatever that information is.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose if a religion can show me it doesn't promote people not taking complete control of complete ownership of their actions, or doesn't shame people into behaving the way that the religion wants them to behave.
More accepting, maybe.
Or accept, yes. I think if I could find a religion that doesn't do those things, or that doesn't claim their deity is all loving, or all knowing, or all powerful, that number could potentially go down.
So if you were to discover something like that, your number would...
Potentially. It could potentially go down.
Okay.
Maybe 78. No,
okay.
it could go down.
Yeah.
I'm not at all opposed to reducing that.
You're open to the possibility
Yes.
that you might be wrong?
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. Yeah, well, thanks for talking to me today, Thomas.
Okay, thanks for having me.
We have one more question for you.
Okay.
Ian's going to ask one question. Is that okay? I'm sorry to put you on the
Yeah,
spot.
sure. This is Ian. So I was just kind of thinking, I'm wondering whether you think a fair wording of your claim or a fair inference from your claim would be that the world would be better with no religions. Is that a fair inference, or would you dispute that?
I think it can't be answered with a yes or no, because I think in humanity's infancy, it was the first attempt at trying to understand things, at trying to have civilization, at trying to make things work. But I think as we've grown, as our understanding about the way the world works, the way the mind works, as we continue to grow, the need for religion is less and less and less. Now, there could be people out there that have the understanding or the belief that without religion they would be complete terrible people, that they wouldn't know how to behave without it. That's possible. And maybe for those people you have to have religion. Maybe. But I don't think you would have to have religion to be a good person. And so I think there was a time that it was necessary, something that was important. But I think we've reached a point in humanity where we should be able to leave it behind and grow out of superstition and enlighten our minds with knowledge of, continue to enlighten our minds with knowledge of how the world actually works.
Sure. I just wanted to, thanks for clarifying. I just wanted to know, how that fit in with the way you're thinking about things. That was great. Thank you.
You're welcome.